Um, we wanted to make a video today about cherry picking, getting a collection that's complete or one that's been cherry picked through already. What a cherry picking means is that someone has gone through your collection and pulled out the good stuff, cherry picking. When the good stuff is taken out, the collection is not worth near as much as it used to be worth because all the good stuff is gone. And this is important because when people bring in collections to us, it's not necessarily the size of your collection, but it's the quality of the size of the collection. It's not the quantity, but the quality of that quantity. And as you see in a minute, I'll show you for an example. The reason we're doing this video is over the weekend we had a guy bring us some G.I. Joes. He had about 70 G.I. Joe dolls. He said he had about 200, but when he came in with the G.I. Joes, he had all these new G.I. Joes in the box from the 80s, from the 90s and the 2000s. And as we're going through the collection, we found that it was worth something, but not really worth much. I think we offered him $500–600 for his collection. He was ecstatic. And he explained to us that he had about 100 G.I. Joes from the early 60s. A lot of them in the boxes, brand new. And he had brought them to a different toy store, one on Fremont Street out here. And all these vintage G.I. Joes, the toy store basically told him, we don't want the modern stuff from the 90s and the 2000s, but we'll take this case or these bunch of 100 vintage G.I. Joes. In exchange for it, they gave him $100 for it. And we basically told him those dolls were probably worth $100 each. And the fact that those are gone, now we cannot offer you some massive amount of money because your collection has been cherry-picked. All the good stuff has been removed. Someone didn't pay you for it well, and now the collection has just basically got leftovers. And the leftovers is not worth near as much as the entire collection would have been worth in its entirety, in its whole. So a cherry-picked collection is worth far less than a complete collection because the cherry-picked collection has had the best items removed out, and the collection is worth much less. I'll give you an example now. This is a box of comic books. There's about 150 comic books here, and when this comic book box came in, we had to go through it and see what it was worth. And basically when we get a collection in, we go through it one by one, assessing the value of each item in the collection. And we can either try to calculate the collection in our brain of what it's worth, or you'll sometimes see us writing down on paper what we think it's worth. And again, we try to basically pay you about half of what it's worth. But as we're going through the collection, we're trying to calculate what it's worth. And as we go through this collection, we'll look at comic books, for example, in this one. And certain comic books, see, basically this collection is 150 comic books from 1969 to about 1975. So within a 5-year period. They're all within the same time frame. But as you go through it, some of the comic books are worth less than $1. Some are worth almost nothing at all. Like some are worth 30 or 40 cents. Some of them, as we're going through these, are worth 10, 20, 30 bucks each. So as we're going through it, we're calculating the worth of the collection because we want to know how much we're going to pay you. And as we're going through it, basically we're looking for the expensive stuff because the expensive stuff will raise our value in our brain of what we can make and will raise our offer to you. And as I'm going through this collection, for example, you're going to run across hopefully some good stuff. This, for example, is a Conan #1 comic book in pretty decent condition. In this condition, this Conan comic book is worth about $300. A big difference from some of these comic books that are worth about 50 cents. This one's worth about $300. As we're going through the collection some more, there's another comic book, it's the Spider-Man 100. In this condition, this comic book is worth anywhere from $300 to $500. So this is also a good comic book. This comic book here is a Spider-Man 129. It's the first appearance of the Punisher. In perfect condition, if this was in mint condition, this would be a $1,000 comic book. In this condition that this one is in, this one's in pretty good condition. It's worth about $500 to $600. So as you can see, from those 3 comic books alone, right here, from these 3 comic books, we got $800 to $1,000 worth of comic books right there. Now, as I'm going through the rest of this comic book box, I'm calculating a price in my head. But these 3 comic books are worth 10 times more than every other comic book in this box put together. That's where the value is of this collection. Now, if someone came in with this collection, based on this and this, I would probably offer the person $600, maybe $700 for this collection. because in the end, I'm probably going to get $1,200 to $1,400 once I sell the whole collection. But almost all of the value of this collection is on these 3 comic books. So if someone came in with this collection, I give them $600, $700. Now, let's take, for example, if someone came with this collection without these 3 comic books. Say, for example, those were cherry picked out by someone else, by another comic book store or a collector, and those were bought out. As I was going through this comic book box, and all I got is 50-cent comic books, dollar comic books, a couple of $10 comic books, maybe 1 or 2 $20 comic books. The rest of this collection of 150 comic books, minus those 3, I'd probably offer $60. If you asked me to go up, I would say take 60 or take it or leave it. There is nothing in there that I can make any money on, because it has been cherry picked through and everything is gone. So as you can see, a big difference. With these 3, $600. Without these 3, $60. Now, we've had this happen a lot, where someone will come with this collection and we're going through it, and it has, for example, in this case, Spider-Man 100. For example, we'll go through 126, 127, 128. All of a sudden, boom, 129 is missing. And we're 130, 131. I ask them, where is Spider-Man 139, 129? And the person will say, oh, someone came to my house earlier and bought that from me for $20. They thought it was a good deal because they got $20 for one comic book, but the comic book they got $20 for, or $30, or even $100 for, was worth $600. So when a person goes through your collection and pulls out 2 or 3 of the best things and cherry picks it and offers you something which seems to be a lot, doesn't necessarily go to your benefit, because if they pulled out a $1,000 item and gave you $20 for it, they're taking away the entire value of the comic book. If someone would have cherry picked these 3 out and given you $100 for those 3 comic books, now I'm only giving you $60 for this comic book collection as opposed to $700. So when we get collections that have been cherry picked through, we're buying leftovers, and we're going to pay for leftovers. When we pay for leftovers, you don't get very much money. If we buy a collection with all the good stuff left in it, we can give you a lot more money, because we're paying for high-end comic books or high-end collectibles that we're able to sell and get more money for ourselves. So the more money we can make, the more money we can pay. Have your comic book or have your collection cherry picked through, we're going to pay for the leftovers if we're going to buy it at all. So moral of the story is don't let someone cherry pick through your collection and take out the best stuff. Sell it as a whole, get what it's worth, or don't sell it at all.